Wow. Okay, I've got a lot I can't tell. So, I can't tell that one either. I mean, I'm like actually cycling.
It looks like federal investigators are back in motion, and this time, Ashton Kutcher's name is being whispered in the same breath as Diddy's. Rumors are spreading fast online that Ashton may have been quietly arrested as a co-conspirator in the explosive Diddy investigation. And honestly, it might explain a few things, like why Ashton has seemingly vanished. No red carpets, no press, no candid paparazzi moments. Nothing. Just silence. Naturally, people are starting to wonder if he's already behind bars. And now, old chapters from Ashton's past are being pried open, and they're messier than many remember. For example, back in high school, he wasn't just the class clown. He was caught breaking into his own school, not for mischief, but to steal money and cheat on a test. He was convicted of third-degree burglary, a felony. Years later, that same teenager would be seen co-hosting Diddy's infamous white parties. You know, the ones now deeply tied to disturbing allegations. It doesn't help that whispers have resurfaced suggesting Ashton may have once dated Lindsay Lohan when she was only 16. Another thread people are now tugging at. Add in the tragedy of Ashley Ellerin, Ashton's former girlfriend, and the web thickens. On the night she was murdered, Ashton claimed he went to her home, peeked through the window, saw red stains on the carpet, assumed it was spilled wine, and left. The next morning, she was found dead inside. Investigators later suggested what Ashton thought was wine might have actually been blood. That detail has never sat right with a lot of people. And then there's Brittany Murphy, another woman Ashton was close to. She died suddenly at just 32, allegedly from pneumonia and anemia. But months later, her husband died from the exact same causes. Both deaths have long been viewed as suspicious, but now, with Diddy's empire under scrutiny, those theories are gaining traction again. Kim Porter, Diddy's ex and the mother of 3 of his children, also passed away unexpectedly in 2018. Her official cause? Pneumonia, just like Brittany, just like Simon Monjack. Same pattern, same eerie silence. Now zoom out. This isn't just about unfortunate coincidences. Ashton was not only close to Diddy, he was reportedly part of his inner circle. Insiders say Diddy brought Ashton in alongside Danny Masterson. Yes, that Danny, now serving time for serious crimes, and Wilmer Valderrama. Together, they were dubbed the New Hollywood Rat Pack. But this wasn't a harmless boys' club. These men traveled the world, hosted ultra-exclusive parties, and allegedly kept more secrets than they shared. Even in business, the ties run deep. Ashton reportedly connected Diddy to Adam Neumann, the now disgraced WeWork CEO who turned a startup into a cult-like corporate mess and left investors reeling. And word is, Diddy walked away with a slice of that pie too. Quietly, of course. And now here we are. Ashton Kutcher, long seen as the clean-cut, tech-savvy actor, is being tied to a growing scandal that could shake Hollywood to its core. His silence? Deafening. Mila Kunis, reportedly done. Some sources say she's already filed for divorce, no longer willing to shield him from the storm. So, was Ashton just another celebrity caught in the crossfire? Or was he closer to the fire than anyone realized? More importantly, what does Mila know that made her finally walk away?
I'm the kind of person that actually learns more from their mistakes than from their successes. So all the great things we did in the past, we're gonna do it.
And now, we get to the part where it all starts to twist. Because when you combine wealth, influence, and a code of silence, you don't just create friendships, you build fortresses. Fortresses where truth gets sealed behind thick walls and anyone who dares to speak gets shut out. Want proof? Go ahead. Try Googling the New Hollywood Rat Pack alongside any of their names. You'll come up almost empty. It's as if the internet was power washed clean, scrubbed, sanitized, erased. Why? Because ever since Diddy's arrest, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have been slipping into stealth mode. Now they're pretending Diddy was just some fleeting acquaintance, someone they may have nodded at on a red carpet once upon a time. But anyone paying attention knows better. They pulled the same disappearing act when Danny Masterson was convicted. Years of public friendship? Gone. Birthday wishes, family photos, cozy vacations, all wiped from social media, deleted like the history never existed. It's not just damage control, it's a total rewrite.
People were shocked to find out that Ashton and Mila, who kind of have branded themselves as activists for victims.
It's giving image overhaul. It's giving strategic cleanup. And let's be real, it's part of a much larger, carefully rehearsed routine. Because when you zoom out, Ashton and Mila's web of connections starts to look a lot more deliberate than coincidental. Let's not forget, their inner circle has long been rumored to orbit around Scientology. Friends, deeply involved, staff, whispers say they're tapped in too. And if you know anything about Scientology's playbook, you know what that means. Next level control of public narrative. We're talking about a group with a documented history of silencing dissent, scrubbing headlines, and intimidating anyone who steps out of line. So if you've ever wondered why certain stories vanish overnight, now you've got your answer. And then there's that moment, the one that sent the internet into full-blown theory mode. During an old interview, Ashton was asked about Diddy's legendary parties. His response? Nervous laughter and a vague dodge. There's a lot I can't tell. Just like that, the floodgates opened. People started speculating. What exactly can he say? Because based on current allegations, what happened at those parties wasn't just celebrity mischief. It may have crossed serious legal and ethical lines. And what makes it even murkier is Thorn, Ashton's much-praised nonprofit, aimed at fighting child exploitation online. On paper, noble, admirable. But in light of everything else swirling around him, some are starting to question whether Thorn is purely mission-driven, or if it's also been a shield, a way to build goodwill while darker connections stay tucked just out of sight.
Within any 3 blocks where we're standing, you can go buy somebody. And I was floored by the notion of that.
You know how Hollywood looks on the surface? Bright lights, polished smiles, perfectly timed interviews. But behind all the glamour, there's a quieter, more unsettling narrative being pieced together. Whispers of concealed truths, redacted files, and too many coincidences to ignore. Some journalists have gone as far as filing Freedom of Information Act requests just to scratch the surface. That's how deep the secrecy runs. Then, out of nowhere, Ashton Kutcher stepped down from his position on the board of Thorn. No slow exit, no build-up, just a swift, unexplained resignation. Some sources claim it wasn't voluntary. That as attention began to turn in his direction, he saw what was coming and decided to vanish before the questions got louder. His resignation came with a long, carefully worded letter, but even the most polished statement couldn't distract from what many felt was a strategic retreat. And speaking of downward spirals, let's talk about a name that's faded from the spotlight but hasn't been forgotten: Davy Chase. Most remember her as the eerie little girl from The Ring, but few know what happened after the lights went out. She didn't just drift away from Hollywood, she fell. Hard. According to persistent rumors, everything started unraveling after a party she attended as a teenager. A party hosted by none other than Diddy and Ashton Kutcher. She was too young to be there, too vulnerable, and from that night on, her life was never the same. What followed was a string of arrests, drug charges, and repeated trips to jail. In 2019, she was booked for a misdemeanor. Just months before that, it was possession. By early 2024, she found herself back in a holding cell. The girl who once walked red carpets now had a growing collection of mugshots. And the public isn't calling it coincidence anymore. They're saying something happened that night, something dark enough to leave permanent scars, the kind of trauma that doesn't heal quietly, if at all. Everyone asks, "How's your new year going?" With a smile, expecting small talk. But for someone like Dave, the new year isn't a celebration. It's a continuation of survival. And what makes her story even more unsettling is that she might not be alone. Allegations are circulating that Ashton had a disturbing pattern, a particular interest in much younger girls. Lindsay Lohan's name has been mentioned in more than just passing. What emerges is a portrait of a glittering world that protects the powerful while allowing its most vulnerable to slip through the cracks. And maybe, just maybe, those cracks have been hiding more than anyone was ready to admit. Back in the early 2000s, Lindsay Lohan and Ashton Kutcher were more than just passing acquaintances. Rumor has it they were romantically involved when Lindsay was only 16. And when that short-lived connection fizzled out, she quickly found herself in the arms of Wilmer Valderrama. A coincidence or a pattern? Because if you step back and really look, it starts to resemble something far more disturbing. An inner circle of grown men with an unsettling interest in underage girls. And Ashton wasn't just a casual player in this circle. Some say he was at the very heart of it. Let's not forget the pop culture madness of the early 2000s. Tabloids openly counted down to when teen stars like Hilary Duff would finally turn 18. It was normalized. Grossly so. While that generation was watching Lizzie McGuire or dancing to bubblegum pop, certain men in Hollywood were watching for something entirely different and much darker. Meanwhile, Diddy's got lawsuits stacked like dominoes waiting to fall. But when you start putting the names together, Ashton, Wilmer, Danny Masterson, it's less of a random collection and more of a web. The connections feel too tight, too consistent. It's giving coordinated behavior. Co-conspirators. Now let's zero in on Wilmer Valderrama for a moment. His history? It's chilling. Start with Mandy Moore. She was just 15 when they first crossed paths. He was 20. For years, both insisted nothing happened. But eventually, Mandy confirmed that yes, they had been in a relationship, and she was still a minor at the time. She later explained that he was her first serious boyfriend. Yet when Wilmer got on the Howard Stern show, he bragged, on air, about being the first guy to sleep with her. He laughed, he joked, and Mandy, hurt by the lie and the public humiliation, later clarified that what he said wasn't even true. The damage, though, had already been done. Then came Lindsay. At the height of her fame, she was 17, and Wilmer was 24. Once again, the public story was just friends, until her 18th birthday. Right on cue, they announced they were officially a couple. It's a script we've heard before. That convenient midnight switch from taboo to acceptable. It's the same move, just a different name, and the pattern didn't stop there. Fast forward to 2010, and Wilmer was suddenly close with a then-teenage Demi Lovato. He was 29, she was 17, and again, the familiar story emerged. They were just friends, until her 18th birthday. Then, like clockwork, they were suddenly dating. Years later, Demi opened up about the truth. The relationship had started before she was legally an adult. The timeline, always sketchy. The transitions, always suspicious. And the birthday excuse? Repeated so many times it feels like a strategy. Demi eventually told the world her truth in the way she knew best, through music. In 2022, she released a raw and powerful song titled 29, a direct reflection of her experience. The lyrics weren't subtle. They painted a picture of a young woman grappling with the uncomfortable truth of a relationship that, in hindsight, never should have happened. This isn't just about one bad relationship or one inappropriate comment. This is a blueprint, a repeated, well-worn playbook. And the worst part? For years, it played out in plain sight while the industry and the public barely blinked. She never dropped a name, but she didn't need to. When Demi Lovato released 29, it was more than a song. It was a statement. In interviews, she confirmed the message was loud and clear, saying, "I feel like the song says it all." And she wasn't wrong. The truth was baked into every lyric. But here's the thing about the internet. It never forgets. Between old forums, scattered threads, and forgotten comment sections, breadcrumbs resurface, and one in particular set off alarm bells. A user claiming to be a former employee of a Hollywood bar alleged that Wilmer Valderrama, best known for his charm on screen, was part owner of a venue with a dark undercurrent. According to the comment, underage girls would frequent the place often, and staff were allegedly instructed not to ID anyone sitting at his tables. Let that sink in. Employees were reportedly told to look the other way, and he wasn't alone. The same source claimed Megan Good. Yes, the actress often associated now with faith, healing, and wholesomeness, was an investor. And the description of her? Horrendous, according to that employee. The implication was clear. She either ignored what was happening or, worse, knowingly enabled it. If these claims hold water, we're not talking about isolated incidents or blurred lines at a party. This was a deliberate setup, a space designed to shield predators, not protect young women. That's not negligence, that's infrastructure. Now connect the dots. Wilmer Valderrama's longtime friend and former That 70s Show co-star, Ashton Kutcher, wasn't just casually in his orbit. They were publicly tight, business partners, red carpet regulars, thick as thieves. Are we really supposed to believe Ashton had no clue? Here's where the contradiction grows louder. Ashton, who co-founded a company devoted to fighting child exploitation online, was allegedly moving through spaces where exploitation was quietly enabled. Publicly, he's a protector. Privately, rumors suggest he may have been surrounded by enablers, or worse. And this crew wasn't just a circle of famous friends. Diddy once dubbed them the new Hollywood Rat Pack, a clique bonded by fame, access, and allegedly, secrets. Now the whispers are getting louder. Mila Kunis may have finally had enough. If what the rumor mill says is true, she's filed for divorce. And honestly, the timing would make sense. Ashton's name began circling some dark clouds right around the time Diddy's legal drama started to explode. And since then, the energy around his public image has shifted. So here we are, a once golden couple potentially fractured, a Hollywood hero possibly on cleanup duty, and a growing pile of questions that still don't have clear answers. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think Mila Kunis really walked away? Could Ashton have truly been in the dark about what was happening in his inner circle? And with everything swirling, from shady bar rumors to underage allegations, is he just protecting himself? Behind Hollywood's tried and true PR machine, drop your thoughts, your takes, and if you've got receipts, let's talk. Hit that like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because something is definitely shaking behind Hollywood's curtains, and we're not looking away.